Should you buy a MacBook Pro 2017 for college? That's coming up right now. Let's go. So, what is up, guys? Nick here, helping you to master your technology. And a subscriber asked me a question the other day. He said, I want to buy a 2017 MacBook Pro. I'm going to university for the first time. And I decided, why not go ahead and make a video? Should I buy a MacBook Pro 2017 for college? I'm sure there's a lot of people going to college soon or thinking about picking up a MacBook Pro. They did reduce the price. The specific model that you're seeing here is the $1299 model. This is the lowest capacity you can get with no touch bar. This is 128 gigabytes. And I'm going to share with you my experience here in this video to tell you if this is going to be a good college, laptop for you. Now, the first thing I want to get right out of the way is design. So for design's sake, yes, this is an incredibly crisp design here on the MacBook. It does have a large trackpad, which some won't like, but for going to college, you really want to keep your bag as light as possible. And having this humongo trackpad right here allows you to basically not have to have a mouse if you don't want one. It's so large, you don't really need a mouse here for this guy. So that automatically is a win in terms of design. Now, the speakers is also a win because even though they're thin, they're very loud here on this MacBook. Now, the MacBook for, portability in terms of its weight, it's actually very well balanced, this MacBook, and it's pretty light. It's about 3 pounds, so it's not going to be the lightest thing in the world, but throw it in a large size book bag for college, you're not really going to feel the weight too much. Now, if you're a petite person, you're smaller, you have a smaller bag, this is not going to be the lightest thing in the world in comparison to something like an iPad. If you got small hands, you're not the strongest person on the planet. This is going to feel decently heavy, but still, it's a lighter computer with plenty of power. Now, one thing you have to keep in mind, if you're going to college and you're going to be transferring files, to an external hard drive or something like that, you're going to want to get one of these right here. So this is from Saki Tech. I'll leave the thing down below in the comments section. This is actually an adapter for, for plugging in USB 2.0 ports and stuff like that. So I'll leave a link to get this down below, but you can also put your SD cards in there as well and a micro SD card. This also has a USB-C pass-through, so you can have your charging port right for the MacBook. So you can charge while plugging stuff in to here. So this might be a necessary attachment you have to get for your MacBook if you're going into college and you're going to be transferring stuff to a hard drive. You need to use like USB thumb drives and stuff like that. This is going to be a necessary attachment for your MacBook 2017. So if you're going into college, you're definitely going to be writing a lot of papers on your MacBook. And here's another area where I think the MacBook is a win, but I don't think it's better than some other laptops on the market, such as the Dell XPS and some other Ultrabooks. I think these keys are not have the most travel. They're pretty flat. But what is nice about the Mac is it has a nice resting area for your palms right here. So you can definitely type pretty quickly here on the MacBook keyboard. You're just going to have to get used to this whole design. It's just a little bit different. The keys are a little mushy and it's going to work fine. But I do think that if you really are going to be typing out long papers, I would go ahead and get a Bluetooth keyboard that has more key travel than this. But, if you get used to this, it ain't going to be no problem. But for me, it hurt my fingers a little bit. So if you're looking for the ultimate keyboard feel, I don't think this MacBook is the best in that regard. If you're going into college, one thing you're really going to need is a solid screen. You're going to be reading a lot of stuff on the screen. You're going to be opening up multiple documents. And this is probably the best display you can get on any 13-inch size laptop. So for those of you going into university, this has a nits of 500 nits. If you don't know what that technical specification mumbo jumbo means, this display gets extremely bright no matter if you're in outdoors, you might be on campus outdoors hanging out on, a bench or something, or, a table where you're studying with friends and stuff like that. You might need to crank the brightness up, and this will do a decent job of seeing the screen outdoors, 500 nits. It's similar to what you find on an iPhone or an iPad. The iPhone does get a little brighter, but this is still extremely bright and extremely crisp for this display. In addition to that, you do have night shift mode on here for those of you who need to read, or your last minute studiers, you read late at night. You have night shift on here, which is definitely not going to hurt your eyes at all. Now, you do have night mode on Windows computers too, so this is not an advantage to Apple, but it's nice that it is in here in macOS Sierra. So another thing that's cool about this MacBook is that you have a lot of the programs that you need built in. You don't really need to buy like Microsoft Office for this unless you absolutely need that stuff, because you have Pages built in. You also have like the other numbers like Excel, Keynote. You have all of these Microsoft Office style applications that Apple provides for free with the purchase of a MacBook. In addition to that, you have Dictionary. You can edit movies from iMovie if you want to make videos and stuff, YouTube videos on campus or whatever you're doing. And you do have a lot of nice things that sync up really easily with your iPhone. So if you're going to college, you got an iPhone, this might be one of the more efficient computers for you to use day to day with your iPhone. I mean, you could write in your MacBook right here, and then you can go into your calendar and write out your next, whatever you're doing for the next day in your schedule, and it'll show right on your iPhone. So I could definitely recommend, if you're going to college and you need something to work efficiently with your phone, go with the MacBook if you have an iPhone. It actually works seamlessly better than any other, cross-platform kind of thing I've ever seen. So what I mean by this, or in sync platform, what I mean by this is, using a Windows computer with an Android phone doesn't feel as continuous, as smooth as it does with the MacBook and an iPhone. And that's not being, on the Mac side only. I do have a Windows computer as well. I actually edited this video on there, but I just think Mac is the way to go if you're using an iPhone. That's just what I think so far. Area where the Dell XPS or its main competitor, I know this is not a Dell computer video, is better than the Mac is the battery life. So this thing gets about 9 to 10 hours of battery life. I've been experiencing that myself. If I'm heavier using it, I'm getting about 6 to 8. If you're doing video editing, you're only getting about 3 to 4. So it will knock down really quick with heavy stuff. Programmers, you probably aren't gonna have too much of an issue with battery life. That's not a super intensive task. Video editors, photo editors, your battery's not gonna be nowhere near 10 hours if you're doing that stuff heavily. Note takers, writing essays, stuff like that, you're easily going to get 9-10 hours on this guy. Now, if you want the ultimate battery life, ultra portable computer, that's the Dell XPS. Just stay away from this MacBook right here. But battery life will get you through a full class day. I would still recommend you bring a charger with you in case you're the type of person who stays after classes are over on campus. You go to the gym or you go to the library, study after, where you don't want to go straight home. This guy right here is going to need a charge up if you're using it throughout all your classes and then you're staying after campus. But if you're just going to class, coming home, it's going to be fine with that. Now, in terms of performance of this MacBook, it's absolutely blazing fast, even with its 8 gigs of RAM and the 7th gen Kaby Lake CPU. Everything you do on this guy is just going to be extremely quick. Now, it will choke a little bit when you're doing like multiple heavy things at once, but I don't see many people using MacBooks like these MacBooks, these smaller 13 inchers like that. So I don't think you're ever going to notice any lag really on this MacBook at all. So performance, rest assured, even with the base configuration 8 gigabyte of RAM and the Kaby Lake CPU, it's incredibly fast. The internet just flies through everything, and Safari and smooth scrolling is just amazing. Even scrolling in Chrome is not bad here on this Mac, but I would definitely recommend Safari if you want better scrolling. So you can see just buttery smooth. The zoom is super good here on this Mac. So if you guys are looking for, incredibly good browsing, incredibly good performance, look no further. This MacBook is going to be great for college in that regard. So if you're thinking about should I buy a MacBook Pro in 2017 for my college year coming up, you got to take one thing into account. If you need ports, you definitely want to go with the 256 gig model, because the base model only has 2 USB-C ports, whereas the 256 gig has 4 Thunderbolt 3 ports. So definitely these ports are the ports of the future. But like I say, if you're a ports person, you're going to need an adapter. So this is going to be an extra cost onto your MacBook if you need extra adapters. If you can work with USB-C, then you're going to be fine here on this MacBook. But what else can I say about it? There's not really any negatives to this MacBook overall in my experience, except for the fact that, this thing, you need extra adapters for the ports. Other than that, it works as it would work. Do you need a touch bar? in all honesty, I think touch bar will be a distraction when it comes to, classes. I mean, you're going to be playing with that touch bar instead of focusing on your work. So this one is more efficient to me, even though Apple's probably going to phase this out. I really do like the standard keys here on this edition of the MacBook, hence why I went with this one. But there's not too much to knock here. If you're looking for a college laptop, this one should be high on your list. If you're going to be storing everything locally, meaning on the MacBook, do not buy this 128 gig. You're going to be regretting it. But if you know how to work around that, you can store things on USB drives. You can store things on SD cards if you don't want to, store it right on the Mac. But if you're the type of person who doesn't want to buy extra stuff, you want everything straight out of the box, ready to go with a more higher capacity one like a 256 gig. Just remember that going from 128 gig to 256 gig jumps like $300-400 on this MacBook. So I could definitely recommend the MacBook for college if you need one. It does pretty much everything well. Speakers are good, battery is good, build quality is good, it's pretty light, and this is a definite recommend for me. Which laptop do you think you're going to be going with for, the year of 2017? If you guys are watching this video and you're thinking like, Nick, I like the MacBook, that's out of my price range, could you please recommend me a few laptops that are a little bit less than this but are probably close to as good? I would recommend the Dell XPS. I would recommend the HP Spectre, the Samsung Notebook 9 Pro 13-inch. You can go check that one out. That one comes in at a lower cost. And if you're really looking for a lower price point laptop, check out the Acer E15. That's a really solid bang for the buck laptop. Anyway, Nick here helping you to master your technology. If you enjoyed this video, click the like button for me. If you loved it, sub to the channel. I will catch you all in the next one. Be sure to be well and peace.